St. Thomas University Journalism and the New Brunswick Beacon present The Basement Files.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Basement Files. I'm Nicole Monroe.
And I'm Corey Robichaud. It's our last show of the season, so to end it right, we've got a special show lined up for you, filled with a variety of stories, making this one of our longest shows yet.
Coming up, in our first half, John Munn talks to South American students living in Fredericton, coping with political unrest in Venezuela. Also, Sam Lehman brings us a glimpse into why the obesity rate in Canada is growing.
In the second half of our show, Scott Hems looks into the Facebook trend that's currently causing our news feeds confusion surrounding its purpose. Also, Tess Allen spends some time with Fredericton's local cyclists and visits a bike shop that repairs old bicycles.
But first up, maple syrup and homemade pancakes are filling the bellies of Sugar Bush goers this weekend. Paige LeClaire is exploring the different activities and sweet treats that the weekend has to offer. Paige?
Hi Nicole, I'm here at King's Landing for their Sugar Bush weekend. They started off with a 9 a.m. pancake breakfast, horse and carriage rides like right behind me, maple syrup on a stick, and baking demonstrations.
Shiny top and blue shirt.
It says it's spring on the calendar, but in Fredericton, that isn't the case. But the cold didn't stop King's Landing from hosting the Sugar Bush weekend Saturday and Sunday. Guests munched on delicious homemade pancakes and listened to live fiddle music, with proceeds going to the York and Sunbury Ground Search and Rescue, with fellow search and rescuers serving meals, hot coffee, and tea. An unexpected volunteer also made an appearance chatting with guests and serving some hot breakfast. New Brunswick Premier David Allward said it's important to support the community in as many ways as possible.
Look, it's so important and it's so much fun, quite frankly. A chance to connect and really support great organizations and build communities. So if we look here with Ground Search and Rescue, it's a fantastic event each year.
Horse and carriage rides were a hit, with the kids taking a full tour of the village. Maple candy was also being handmade on an open fire until it reached its perfect temperature to be eaten on a stick. The barns have been closed all winter, leaving the animals a little lonely on cold days. But they receive nothing but love from village goers, especially the giant-sized pigs. On top of the activities, guests were able to go into the historic houses and experience 19th century baking, sewing, and wool spinning, with great storytelling from some of the villagers.
Then I look towards my doorway, and above my doorway I usually have my musket. And it was gone. Somebody stole my musket. And my husband's up in the bush, tapping the trees, and he'll be there for a couple of weeks. So I need a musket around the house to protect myself, right?
The chilly temperatures led guests into the King's Head Inn, where hot chocolate, beer, and yummy treats like marshmallows were available to roast over an open fire. This summer will be the 40th anniversary of King's Landing. The owners expect to be open June 14th. Fingers crossed the snow has ended for the year. For Stu Journalism, I'm Paige LeClaire.
A Fredericton University class has decided to take action in helping the homeless. While donations of money are always welcome, this class is asking for a different type of donation. Scott Hems has the details.
All over the world, people are looking to reach out and help the homeless. It's an issue Canadians are noticing. According to CBC, over 200,000 Canadians are annually left on the streets. Although St. Thomas University isn't handing $100 bills to homeless people like this gentleman, they are still finding ways to help with the cause. Recently, a sociology class started taking donations of toiletries and supplies that are going towards a homeless shelter. Haley Hughes is part of that class.
As people are moving out, so anything they don't want, if it's like bedding or like old clothes that they're not using or leftover toiletries that they don't need or extra toilet paper or whatever, they can give it to the homeless shelters, and we'll give it to the homeless shelters, and then they'll use what they need there, and then they'll dole out the rest for people who are trying to transition into living in affordable housing.
Without seeing an excessive amount of people, they still managed a sufficient amount of cleansing products, contributed completely by university students. Their goal from the very start was simply to raise awareness.
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is just education. So by us doing this, we're raising awareness, and we're kind of like showing students that it's not just volunteers that they need. They don't just need money. They need They need people to give products and things that it's not really hard to do.
So apart from the shampoo and toiletries that this class is able to collect, the same class is looking to do 2 more events in the upcoming weeks, not only to help raise money and collect supplies, but also to help raise awareness of homeless and target the Fredericton area. For Stu Journalism, I'm Scott Hems, Fredericton.
Life in Canada is relatively easy compared to some countries with nice people, a democratic society, and universal health care. But this is not the case for Venezuela, a country experiencing violent protests. John Munn spoke with South American students living in Fredericton to see how they are coping with this situation.
In Venezuela, we also have massive protests.
The deadly violence in Venezuela.
We saw what have become the biggest street protests in Venezuela in the past 10 years.
The largest wave in a decade of anti-government demonstrations has been sweeping through Venezuela since early February. For many people, this is just something they see on the nightly news. But for others, there is a much greater meaning.
Everyone that is trying to live is living. No one wants to stay in Venezuela. That's my mom's younger brother.
Manuel Barueta moved from Venezuela to Canada with his family when he was just a boy. The family moved for a better life and a better standard of living. But being away from your native country is hard in a situation like this.
Violence it's too much. Last year there were 25,000 homicides, and no one is accountable for that. The government denies it and says that there's nothing going on.
His family recently became Canadian citizens, but even though the family is now legal citizens of another country, it is still hard to watch knowing family is still there.
I feel bad about it. I mean, like, I don't want them to be there, but really, I feel worse for me being here. Why? And not being able to help. Alright, because if I was there, at my 23 years old, I will be a student over there. So it will be my responsibility to be in the streets too.
The protest began in February. Students demanded increased security after a female student said she was a victim of an attempted rape. For many Venezuelans, this was the last straw. As more and more protesters began to hit the streets, the situation became violent. Santiago Chavez is originally from Ecuador, but being the son of a diplomat, he moved from country to country. During his childhood, his family spent a few years in Venezuela, just enough time to make a few friends. Friends he now worries about.
Heartbreaking to me. I know that many of my friends who are there are scared and they still have to go out, and I think that courage, that human unity, with an underlying tone of courage, I think is inspiring, and I think they're rightfully protecting themselves, their families, from a state that, regardless, aside from the fact of whether or not you like economic policies and many things like that, is being harsh, cruel, beating down on them. And I know it's also very hard for my friends who are here and for my friends who are in other universities around the world who try to do the little that they can, first of all, by staying informed and giving support to their own family members and friends, but also by trying to make a little bit of concern for what's happening in Venezuela a little bit contagious, because there's so many things going on, all over the world that can be heartbreaking for people who have some sort of relationship to it.
At a multicultural fair in Fredericton, international students encouraged protesters with a picture posted to Facebook. Social media is one of the few methods Venezuelans can get news, as many news organizations have been bought out by the government or blocked. Isabella Makovsky moved to Canada for university. She couldn't believe how different life was here compared to home.
Life here is wonderful. For real, you have security, you have health, everyone is really nice, you're not afraid about anything. If you work somewhere, you're going to get paid. Back home is way different. I cannot go out, first of all. My mom doesn't let me go out. I am 21 years old, and I can drive my car until 6 p.m. because my mom will be afraid for me to be kidnapped or killed, or that's life back home.
She's personally felt the impact of living in a violent country where something could happen at any moment.
It's horrible. My boyfriend actually was shot last year. They were trying to kidnap him and he just got shot. Like, he was lucky enough, he didn't get killed or anything like that, but that's life there. Keep fighting. We're gonna let these people keep running our country. We need to fix it. This is our Venezuela.
For Stu Journalism, I'm John Munn.
Talking about the issues and being informed can be one of the best preventions for sexual assault. A Fredericton group is fighting to end sexual violence on campuses. Conrad Palmer has the story.
You may be surprised that this song, Blurred Lines, is actually about date rape drugs. The Blurred Lines panel discussed consent and the importance of talking about sexual assault.
Consent has been not only popular in our academic as well as our society as well, and it's something that is not really talked about enough.
Ryan Buchanan spoke with other students at St. Thomas University last Thursday night. It's a part of the Ending Sexual Violence on Campus project. Maclean's list of Canada's most dangerous cities of sexual assault put Fredericton third. The trail connecting the University of New Brunswick and St. Thomas is known as the Rape Trail, for good reason.
And it was like 10 at night, and I was walking and I had my music on, like blasting, and then I just when I got to the highway, I looked back and I saw like someone behind, like a guy. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna walk faster, and I walked faster, and he walked faster, and I started jogging, and he started running too. When I fell, it just grabbed me kind of thing, but I don't know what I did. I can't remember because I was just in the rush of emotion. Then it just started running, and I got in my room. My knees were bleeding, and my roommate was like, "What's up?" And I explained it.
The universities have several preventions in place. The campus police offers a safe walk on weekend nights. Derek Arsenault is the campus police chief.
Once you give a number a call, you can ask for a walk. We don't have a vehicle to drive us, but we do have, we are able to walk people wherever they want.
A lot of calls are for the off-campus residences.
Whenever we walk a woman home, she has to walk through a trail, across a highway, and under a bridge, so those are prime areas for someone to be attacked. And I'm not just saying it's specifically for women.
The Ending Sexual Violence on Campus project is trying to make the conversations about assaults more comfortable. The Blurred Lines panel discussed consent, rape culture, and the media's effect.
Especially sexual assault that's portrayed through social media and stuff like that. So it's become a big topic in our society today, and I think we need to do more research about it.
The panelists helped define consent. They advocated yes means yes. They said when engaging in sexual activity, people should be looking for a definite yes rather than a no. There are many ways to say no, but they say to only proceed when a yes really means yes. Fredericton Sexual Assault Crisis Center hosted the event. Maggie Crane organized it.
We kept hearing about these students who were doing research and interest in the issues of sexual violence and rape culture and consent.
It's a part of their Ending Sexual Violence on Campus project. The panel was one of the last parts of this project, along with a video on consent featuring university students.
I like this. Actually, I don't like this. Can you put your hand here? Can you not put your hand there?
It's super important to say yes, I like that, or I'm not feeling that.
Is there anything that I can do better? Hey, this sounds like fun. You want to try it? Let's do this next time or something.
This project gets people informed and talking about assault. The Crisis Center believes it's a stronger way to prevent sexual violence. Carla O'Regan is a criminology professor at St. Thomas University.
You're looking at about 500 women in Canada sexually assaulted before you and I go to bed tonight. And we're going to hear about 32 of those from a reporting standpoint, and then about one of those, if we're real lucky, is going to face conviction.
She moderated the event. Her research is in consent, and she also teaches a feminist theory course.
Statistics Canada reports on campus
4 out of 5 female undergrads in dating relationships are victims of violence. And only 6% of all sexual assaults are reported to the police. The Facebook page for the Ending Sexual Violence on Fredericton campuses posted the full video of Consent, Let's Start the Conversation. For Stu Journalism, I'm Conrad Palmer.
In other news, the provincial government is increasing its investments to the New Brunswick Anti-Tobacco Coalition by more than $60,000, boosting their current budget by 35%. The coalition fighting to reduce tobacco consumption consists of medical authorities, including government departments, regional health authorities, and nonprofit organizations. The new funds will be used to help the coalition organize activities, educate community stakeholders through web-based seminars, and develop new fact sheets on tobacco products, such as youth susceptibility, hookah, and the third-hand smoke. A recent report shows the obesity rate in Canada has tripled in less than 30 years. Sam Laidman searched Fredericton looking for reasons why. What'd you find, Sam?
Well, Corey, I've talked to a number of health and fitness specialists around the city, and I've learned that there are a lot of different contributing factors in obesity.
Most say our sedentary lifestyle is the reason behind the growth in obesity around the world. Unless we see a drastic change in society, the report predicts by the end of the decade, 1 in 5 Canadians will be considered obese. Dr. Kristen Muick is a medical officer of health in New Brunswick. Much of her work is related to creating more active communities in the province.
We live in an era of convenience now, and convenience in many forms, and this means that we're expending a lot less energy than we would have in past generations in terms of getting around, in terms of what we do in our leisure time, in terms of what we do in our workplaces.
Between sitting in our cars, at our desks, in front of our screens, and laying in bed, most people barely move. Stats Canada reported just 15% of adults get their minimum amount of exercise. Children only get 7%. Caleb DeMerchant is studying to be a business IT analyst. He isn't worried about the desk job making him gain weight, though. He says as a student, he already sits or sleeps around 20 hours a day, but a few good habits are enough to keep him in shape.
I think it has to do with diet. I think people eat food now and there's people eat a lot of processed foods because they're constantly working, right? A lot of people constantly work.
DeMerchant also says that the harsh Canadian winters keep himself and others from getting out more. Some wonder why obesity is still on the rise, given the rising popularity of gyms and fitness culture. Tori Krosman lost over 100 pounds in her 20s and has been a personal trainer for over a decade. She believes that while more people are working out, many still aren't eating right and being active outside the gym.
It's just like 1 or 2 hours out of the day or 3 times a week that you're doing it, but the rest of the hours that you're in the outside of this facility, what are you doing, right?
Making matters more difficult is the smattering of fast food places, just like the ones across the street from her work. The New Brunswick Department of Health shares information with the public through ads and websites to try and change their mindset. In recent years, there's been an emphasis on looking for new ways to get people moving throughout their day.
Street infrastructure, yes, we're worried about traffic, but we're also worried about being able to get bikers safely to work and making environments that are attractive so that people do feel like walking.
Despite the province's effort, more than 1/4 of New Brunswickers are obese, the second highest rate next to Newfoundland. The Canadian average is about 1 in 5. Many experts talk about the struggle for the daily family to afford healthy food. With such cheap and easy access to processed food, it's no wonder people choose it. Ellen McIntosh is a dietitian with the University of New Brunswick. She treats individual patients and campaigns on campus to get students to eat healthier. She thinks New Brunswick's low income level makes junk food even more popular in the province.
Milk is much more expensive than pop, right? So you can buy a 2-liter pop and it costs, $1.25 or whatever, whereas a 2-liter of milk is going to cost $4 or $5, right? And we know that if there's a genetic predisposition to being overweight, that just drinking a can of pop a day will just flip that genetic switch.
Processed foods can also be made less expensively than real food, the nutritionist says. Portions have expanded while nutrients have decreased. Everyone I spoke to told me awareness is key. Before we can get healthier as a society, we have to become more aware of the health and nutrition choices we're making and their consequences. For Stu Journalism, I'm Sam Laidman.
Society at times has a tendency to misunderstand the transgender community, but not every transgender individual is the same. Andrea Barcenas explores the challenges of being transgender.
In the Western world,
gender defines us as individuals, and culture determines gender roles. Strength and aggression are seen as masculine, sensitivity and empathy as feminine. So when society can't tell who's a male or who's a female, it can be confusing for many. Junior Vickers understood since a very young age that gender is not inherently connected to one's anatomy.
Like, I always thought I was a girl. Like, there wasn't really a moment where I said, oh, maybe I'm a girl on the inside. I always felt that I was a girl. And on the inside, that's what I think I am. Like, that's what I know I am.
Junior hasn't started hormones or gone through any physical modification.
I just started becoming so uncomfortable. Like, I didn't want to continue trying to be something I wasn't. So then I started restricting my eating. So I kind of delayed puberty in a way because my body didn't have enough calories, didn't have enough energy to do any of the functions it's supposed to.
Gender is the complex interrelationship between physical traits and the individual's internal sense of self, as male, female, both, or neither, so there are many ways of being transgender. Scott DeBow is the co-chair of the Fredericton Gender Minorities Group. His gender identity is defined by his internal sense of being a male, while enjoying the perks of wearing dresses.
This is when I was presenting as male. You can see I kind of was flatter. I wore men's clothing. I'm bisexual, but I primarily identify as gay because I'm primarily into other men. And that's very confusing for a lot of people because a lot of people just assume I'm a straight girl. And I've had a few people say that, like, when I was coming out, and I was dating a man, they said, like, wouldn't it just be easier to be a straight girl? It's like, whoa, like, my sexuality plays no part in my gender. Like, you know, they intertwine, but it doesn't affect it, kind of, so.
The FGMG considers the use of preferred gender pronouns as one of the most basic ways to show respect for diverse gender identities.
People don't always identify as male or female, so there has to be an option for them because forcing them into a box isn't fair for anyone, so they pronouns is good for anyone to use, and it's really important for people to get into it naturally.
Charlie Kelly identifies as neutre, which refers to a gender identity that is neutral or no.
The way that I would describe my gender as different from male or female is actually the way I would describe anyone's gender as different from anyone else's, because I sort of see everyone's gender as being a different thing, because even for cis people or people who identify with the gender they were assigned, they experience their gender in different ways. So if you ask one cis woman what makes her a woman, her answer will be different from another cis woman's answer. So to me, that difference is just something that other people aren't conscious of, but definitely exists.
Even when you encounter somebody who's trans, people often have to work out in their mind, okay, wait, but what are you really? Same thing would have happened, let's say, with Thomas Beattie, the pregnant man. He was on Oprah a while ago and whatnot. And in order for people to understand that, pregnant man, whoa, that's completely unintelligible. We don't have a way of understanding how men could be pregnant. So in order to make sense of it, we have to fit it into that binary.
Trans individuals face higher rates of harassment when compared to homosexual people. They are 3 times more likely to fear for their safety on campus.
We have had many issues in St. Thomas, say people getting beaten up in bathrooms. That has happened. Mostly it's just people being screamed out of bathrooms, but that's not very pleasant either.
First year, I was nearly attacked in a bathroom down at UNB because someone thought I was a guy going in the girls' washroom. It was a really drunk guy outside the girls' bathroom. And they started yelling at me and were going to come in and attack me. But thank goodness one of my friends from Spectrum was with me, and he's like, you know, big. He was like big and like tall, and because we look alike, he says, "Don't you dare like talk to my sister like that." He called me his sister, and the guy was like, "You're probably just as much of a fag as she is," and he's like, "What of it?" Luckily, St. Thomas has a couple of gender-neutral bathrooms on campus, so just gotta book it to George Martin when you gotta pee. It's like, ugh.
Dr. Sylvia Hale says transgender identities challenge but don't harm society.
I think there's a tendency to be too binary, to say the world is made up of men and women, I don't fit, so I'm going to have to change myself physically. And maybe you don't have to. There's enough diversity, you can live your life the way you want to be.
People are who they say they are. Even if, someone was, big, hulking with a huge beard, if they say they're a woman, they're serious and you have to address them as a woman. If someone like me is, in a big dress, cute hair, makeup and everything, and they say they're man, you address them as such. And same goes for non-binary people. If they use they pronouns, you respect that, because for a lot of people it is life or death.
What you are anatomically does not determine what you are mentally. They're two separate things. Most of the time, yes, they correlate, and if you're anatomically a male, you will have the mentality of a guy. But sometimes, like in my case, you're born anatomically a male, but you're mentally a female. And there's nothing you can really do to change that. Like, you can try to deny that all you want, but it's just going to cause distress and everything. Like what happened to me, I almost died from my eating disorder, like from heart failure. So.
I think that male and female are something you do and not something you are, and I've never done it. People try to make me do it, but it didn't work out very well. Honestly, male doesn't really either, but it's better.
The transgender movement shows there's not one right way to be a human being. For Stu Journalism, I'm Andrea Barcenas.
Fredericton is filled with people from all walks of life. Kevin Lemieux went downtown to meet one of those interesting characters and found out that there's more than what meets the eye.
If you travel down quiet Charlotte Street in Fredericton, you might spot this house. While the outside might look well decorated, the inside is even more spectacular. This is the home of Peleki Papapanua, an artist and medium. For him, this is something he's been working on since a young age.
I'm actually a 5th generation of my family, so for the spiritual medium side, so that was basically, like I say, from birth, but it would have been about 12 years old or so that I actually made the decision that that's the path that I wanted to pursue. So I began my training in my career kind of for that, kind of learning all the different skills and that necessary to be a medium.
After moving to Fredericton from South Africa at the age of 10, he worked with his mother to create his connections to the spirits.
There's different things. First of all, the main part that you have to learn is communication with your own personal spirit guides. So some people call it guardian angels, other people call it spirit guides. So basically what that is your guides are what you would call like your gatekeepers. So they're watching over your sessions for you, they're keeping track of your readings. And then what they'll do is they'll start attaching and bring in other spirits for you to communicate with as well. And then those spirits will be the ones that you're communicating with for clients that are coming. And then what I would have done is actually gone ahead and done a reading for my mother and bought information through for her that she knew that I wouldn't have known. And then she would have been able to say, yes, you're on the right track, or no, kind of thing like that, keep focusing on this area. So that was basically where it was, and then I was able to start doing public readings.
While he has gone to school for massage therapy, he is now a priest in the pagan tradition and devotes himself to the Mother Goddess. His house is covered with art and religious symbols from every corner of the world.
My home is a lifelong collection, so it's things that I've just been fortunate enough by the grace of the goddess to be able to bring into my life and into my home kind of from around the world. I don't really have any one particular theme. The way that I do it is I'll normally pick one country a year that I love, so maybe it's my African year. And what I'll do is I'll spend that year collecting pieces from Africa or kind of different tribal pieces from there. Then the next year might be like a Polynesian year, so I'll collect Polynesian or Hawaiian pieces. So I've been fortunate in that sense that each year, because I kind of solely focus on that one theme, I'm able to collect things from that country or those areas, and then what I basically do is just kind of put it together into the house and mishmash it all together. So again, it's more, I like my house feeling like a spiritual temple for myself, so it's sacred pieces, sacred honorings, goddesses, gods, kind of different religious pieces from around the world, I guess.
With the tattoos on his face, you'd think people would judge him or be afraid, but actually, he takes it as an opportunity to educate people.
I don't find I tend to get a lot of negative reaction myself, and it really is, I am well known for the work that I do, so a lot of people already know what I look like, and a lot of people kind of who are already associating with me in that know what I'm like, how I look, everything in that. So myself, I don't really find I get a lot of negative reaction. I get a lot of not confusion in a bad way, but people almost inquisitive. They more want to find out about me and why I sort of look the way that I look, or why I kind of dress the way that I dress, or have the image that I have. That's what I find more with people, is they're more interested in finding out about the tradition, in which case it gives me the opportunity to explain to them about the spiritual path that I follow and the work that I do.
Pilecki has over 30 tattoos that represent his devotion to his religion. When it comes to mediums, he tells people to have an open mind.
Actually, I tell people to be skeptical. That's the first thing that I'll tell people. I'm probably the most skeptical psychic you're going to come across. I tell people you have to have a certain amount of skepticism, and that's the whole point of the reading. The person is supposed to be able to make you go, there's no way possible Pilecki could have known that information coming in. Like, it's supposed to be so specific. And like I said, unfortunately, in this line of work, whether it be tarot cards, readings, angel work, anything like that, there are unfortunately a lot of people that, I'm not saying they're deliberately doing it, because I'm sure their intention's in the right place, but they might not have the skill set available in order to give the type of reading that the people are kind of expecting to be getting.
After over 20 years of work, Pilecki doesn't know what his future holds, but he waits to be guided.
It's one of those, because of the type of work that I do, and because I put my faith in the Mother Goddess, if she needs me to change in another direction next year, then that's kind of part of my path, that I'll trust the universe is lining me up in the right place that I need to go.
For Stu Journalism, I'm Kevin Lemieux.
A trend is breaking out across the internet. It's the hashtag #NoMakeupSelfie. It's causing a public debate, as many people don't know its original purpose. Though it was started to help breast cancer, it's become a trend that few understand the meaning behind. Scott Hems has the report.
A new Facebook trend has started, where females take a few pictures of themselves without makeup. They then tag a few of their friends and give them 24 hours to do the same. So what are people's general reactions to the newest Facebook trend?
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly.
And I just feel like pressure to do it myself.
But definitely didn't see the harm in it. I got nominated twice and I still haven't participated yet.
It sends a mixed message depending on where you stand on it.
My roommate and I discussed this, and we both decided that if either one of us were ever to get nominated, we would, instead of have no makeup, smother our faces in makeup, very, prominent, and post that it's beauty on the inside that matters, regardless of whether or not you're wearing makeup or no makeup.
It destabilizes the patriarchy.
I think the big issue here is how it's framed.
Shannon Fenlon is a UNB master's student doing his master's on the educational benefits of social media.
We are seeing a trend where negative consequences are happening, or negative self-image is being developed in the case of the no makeup selfie.
It's just a trend, and I think that it's going to get to the point where, and I think it already has, where it's completely, if I can use the term, overrated.
Most people are completely unaware that it actually originated to create awareness for breast cancer.
Well, now that I know that, I don't think it's stupid, but no one ever specified that.
But I think people might be missing the point. And if you're missing the point, then your marketing plan has failed.
Anika Divenvorden took part in the trend.
I knew that there was some sort of fundraising aspect to the no makeup selfie on Facebook, but at that point when it got to me, I really didn't know what the actual reason or what the cause was behind it.
As it gets shared and as it gets perpetuated forward, it's just simply becoming, here's me with no makeup, oh God, how awful, and then challenging 2 or 3 other people to do it with no mention of the original intention, no mention of the charitable aspect of it, and the message is being lost.
As soon as I put it up on Facebook, I instantly regretted it.
It's transformed into something potentially dangerous instead.
There's really no point in it. Like the cause of doing that, of putting that picture up on Facebook has gone, it's diminished. Now it's just about, it's just like a trendy thing that everyone's getting involved in.
For Stu Journalism, I'm Scott Hems.
We live in a world where people do almost everything on the internet. But when it comes to finding out about their family history, some people do it the old-fashioned way, at the provincial archives. Kirsten Slote found out that there's more than just old documents at the New Brunswick Provincial Archives.
John Hildebrand has a mission. He's hunting clues. Clues to find out more about his great-great-grandfather who came from Europe to Canada.
This is the sort of thing that, may never be
digitized for online, but it's really a treasure trove of information.
John started his research in fall 2013 and got wrapped up. His great-great-grandfather was a German teacher here. That's why John tries to find more information in old school records. But John's family history is only one of thousands of stories in the New Brunswick Provincial Archives. Many research online, but may have to come here to complete the puzzle.
One way to describe our job is to make those puzzles a little bit more manageable.
Brett Farwell is the provincial archivist and director.
With the archives, you have a puzzle, but you don't have a picture of what the puzzle should look like.
And the puzzle pieces are stored in this room, the repository. Around 80,000 boxes are filled with documents and photos, tidbits of New Brunswick's history. The paper records date back to 1784, when New Brunswick became a province.
We can only acquire and preserve and make available whatever the remnant of the past that survives. So if your grandmother's diary survived, but everybody else in the place that you grew up, their grandmothers either didn't keep diaries or they didn't survive, then all that is recorded, the only view of that past and that place is through your grandmother's diaries.
After a document is given to the archives, the staff note information about the donor and the document's condition. Then the staff prepares the records so the public can find them quickly.
And it has, in this case, it has the paper maker, which would have been C. Harris, and it was made in 1845.
But before researchers look at the records, Dean Lund does. The records come in all sorts of forms: handwritten documents on parchment, typewritten letters on paper, and
things like sized linen, which is basically a linen cloth that's sized with gelatin, and it was used a lot for architectural plans, drawings, and maps and that type of thing.
Next to paper documents, the archives have about 175,000 photos about New Brunswick. Photography made its way to Canada in the mid-19th century.
They were found inside of a house down in St. John, and they were in behind the drywall. Over on the other side.
This old dated gleaner shows proper care and storage are important. Records can be ruined by chemicals, molding, and light. Even the computer era brought different challenges, because keeping up with technology can be tricky.
Like if there's 100 photographs on here, 50 years down the road, you're not going to be able to get at them. Whereas, you know, if you have this, even though it's probably over 100 years old, all the information's still there.
Meantime, John is still looking for information on his great-great-grandfather from Germany and finding them in the archives, not online.
A really interesting question is, why did my ancestor decide to leave Germany and come to North America? And we're not absolutely sure the answer to that.
A lot of time goes into recording for his personal archives, because John has still many questions.
You never reach your goal. There's always things you don't know. It doesn't matter when you decide you're going to write something up. You'll always learn something afterwards, so it's never finished.
For Stu Journalism, I'm Kerstin Schlote.
A bicycle resource center is gaining momentum in downtown Fredericton, but they need more support from the community to keep on pedaling. Tess Allen reports.
At first glance, it may look like a bicycle graveyard. But as you wander deeper into Fredericton's Capital City Cycles at 620 Queen Street, you soon realize these abandoned bikes are not being buried, but reborn. Capital City Cycles is the Capital Region's top not-for-profit bicycle resource center. Its goal, not only to provide a venue for Frederictonians to gain access to tools, bikes, skills, and knowledge to maintain and safely use their bicycles, but to become the hub of a thriving cycling culture in the city of Fredericton. Capital City Cycles chairman Matthew Johnson believes the organization serves a number of critical needs in the community.
Fredericton, for a while there, had some of the lower levels of utilitarian cycling. I don't mean leisure cycling. I mean like getting to work, getting to school, this kinds of things. And yes, everybody has their reasons why, and hey, you know, all we're trying to do is address that.
But it's not just the health factor that makes Capital City Cycles such an asset to the Fredericton area.
People who are down at the bottom tend to feel it first. And if you can't get to your job, if you have one, then you need help. And this is a way of ensuring some level of transportation security for people who have no other option.
Those who inhabit Capital City Cycles throughout the week range from those hoping to fix their own bicycle to those in need of a new one. Just like Fidel Comondo, a volunteer who has a hard time picking one reason for why he keeps coming back week after week.
Many people in Fredericton like to use bicycles, and others would not give much more money to buy another bicycle when it's broken. So we can help them when it's broken. We can help them repair it. And I'm also getting more experience with bicycles. I won't need to buy another one if mine breaks down.
This is music to the ears of Capital City Cycles treasurer Bradford Richards, who believes one of the organization's key goals is simply making Fredericton a happier place.
You know, you're driving to work every day and you're sitting in your car. It's like you put all your stresses in that car and you just sit in them. But when you're on your bike, you're free. It really is a complete change, a complete difference. And you know, it's for Fredericton, there's most places you can get in town, provided you're not going straight up the hill, that you can get there in about the equal time that it would take to drive, especially if you drive during rush hour. So really you're not losing that much time, but you're getting a much better experience. And I challenge somebody, you know, try to have a bad day after cycling into work.
But despite its countless benefits and recent support from the city of Fredericton, Capital City Cycles is still in serious need of new recruits. President Stephen Brooker hopes that with continued outreach, the organization will get the volunteers it requires to keep pedaling forward.
We're looking for more volunteers. We're looking for a larger group to come in the doors. If we get more awareness, more people can make use of our services. We get a vibrant community happening here, and just get more awareness of cyclists on the roads and bring more of that to Fredericton.
Those hoping to get in on the cycling and recycling action at Capital City Cycles can find the group on Facebook or drop in for a visit between 11 and 3 on Wednesdays and Sundays. For Stu Journalism, I'm Tess Allen.
St. Thomas University hosted its athletic banquet to close another successful sports season. Women's basketball player Kelly Vass was awarded Female Athlete of the Year after another strong season and pushing her team to a silver finish at Nationals. Jason Cannon was named Male Athlete of the Year and is a key player on the men's volleyball team. Cannon was selected to the second All-Star team and led the country in aces. But Cannon, taking the title, has a stronger meaning behind it. St. Thomas University suspended the men's volleyball team in 2010 after the death of a player due to a rookie hazing party. Michael Bourgeois now takes you on an inside look at the men's volleyball team rebuild.
In 2011, the Tommies was a team unheard of in the ACAA men's volleyball. 3 years later, the team is capping off a near-perfect season record. They are off to their third ACAA playoffs in a row since the end of the team's suspension due to the death of student Andrew Bartlett. An easy straight set victory sent the Tommies to their third conference final in 3 years back in the league.
If we can play like we did today, it's going to be a really good game.
This final test before the crowning of a champion was against a hard squad in the Holland College Hurricanes, playoff rivals for the last 3 years. With a blow of a whistle, the first serve was away and the battle was on. Coming off the dominating win the day before, the Tommies tried to keep the momentum going. Holland proved to be a tough matchup, staying within a few points of St. Thomas. Tons of excitement from the bench fueled the Tommies' passion to win. With the miss of a serve, St. Thomas beat Holland College Hurricanes in a familiar 3-set win.
We're together. We want to play together, and we become almost a family, seeing each other every single day. So to win something like this, it's like, it feels good, but at the same time we know that we can do it and we deserve it because we work so hard for it.
Athletic Director Mike Eagles witnessed the growth of the team for the last 3 years.
Well, it's been amazing, an amazing journey for the group, and I'll give a lot of credit to Francis, and he's brought some great volleyball players in. It's really excellent to see that the grassroots players from Fredericton come up through the programs at Ecole St. Anne or wherever, can step into this level and really put a really great team together. So it's really exciting to see, and I'm just so pleased for the group.
With the win, the team had punched their ticket to the big show, Nationals in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. But it was back to business as usual for the team on Monday in preparation for their upcoming trip. Named 2014 ACAA Coach of the Year, Francis Duguay took over the team in 2011. His involvement with Volleyball New Brunswick helped in recruiting a team of all first years, who would go on to win their first title in 5 years.
I mean, we've changed in positive ways. Every year, our first year was kind of a standing point of, we came out and we go to nationals and we set the bar pretty high, and then, we come back the second year, we don't even make it to nationals, and we were disappointed at nationals with our performance. So now, 2 years later, we're really happy to give it another shot and see if we can't steal some sets over there.
After the suspension, Duguay has made professionalism a main focus.
Yeah, I mean, I get the boys to sign a contract every year, just a few basic things. I want them to maintain a certain GPA. I ask that they do a bit of community service. I prefer sport-related community service, like coaching high school and club and stuff. But amongst other things, those are the main two things that I like to see people, stick to. And, I want to get involved. I want to get our team involved in the community, and I think that's important, and, that we can give back to the youth.
Sean McCullum joined the team last year when they fell short of nationals by 1 win.
Pretty excited going to nationals. I mean, I've never been to Moose Jaw. Should be pretty exciting. I think we have such a good squad here that we're actually, in contention for a win or two. In the past, the Atlantics have done terribly in nationals. So hopefully we can break that losing streak. And I think with this squad, we absolutely can.
Approaching nationals, the team had one goal in mind: win. No Atlantic team has accomplished that feat, let alone win an out-of-conference game, in over 20 years. Unable to pick up a set in their last showing at nationals, the Tommies are looking for a lot more in Moose Jaw this time around. Though the results at nationals are unpredictable, one thing is for sure: the future is looking very promising for this university volleyball program. Michael Bourgeois, Stu Journalism, Fredericton.
St. Thomas University held their annual Relay for Life, a night spent remembering and honoring loved ones who have been affected by cancer. Jacqueline Gallant takes us inside the life of a university student who has dealt with cancer in her family for most of her life.
The Relay for Life is a time for people to come together and commemorate those they have lost to cancer and support the ones still fighting it. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody is here for a reason. Lydia Gossell Sellers is here for her mother.
Peter Peter Pan picked a pack of
Mommy, you said Peter Pan.
But it starts with a P, so it's okay.
No, it's Peter Piper.
Peter Piper picked a apple.
Mommy, you say it.
I just did.
Why do people congregate and play games and
light luminaries. I guess it's the sense of the feeling that not everyone is alone, and you don't have to feel alone, and everyone's in it together. I think people secretly seek this, and especially when it comes to illness. I think coming together is something that is very imperative when it comes to illness.
Lydia moved to Canada 4 years ago to study psychology at St. Thomas University. Leaving her family behind in Abu Dhabi, Lydia didn't know it would be the last time she'd see her mother.
Before the cancer, she was very different, but I don't remember her much. She was more energetic and temperamental before the cancer. And then afterwards, she was really patient and she had a really weird sense of humor. And her voice was very monotone, like very monotone and low. So anything funny she said would just be amplified because of that. She liked to play pretend and things like that. She was just a kid, I think.
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers.
Yay! You did it. Now say it fast.
Fast.
Mommy, I said say it fast, so you can't get away with that.
Fast.
Mommy, I did say fast. I said say it fast.
It fast. It fast.
Mommy, no.
When Lydia learned her mother had only a couple of days to live, she asked her father for a ticket home so she could say goodbye. But by the time he bought the plane ticket, it was too late. Lydia's mother, Frida, died 3 days later in the hospital.
From what I understand, I was the only one that knew. My boyfriend at the time, his mother was with my mother in the hospital, and the doctor gave her the hint that she was going to die soon. And I don't think the doctor told my dad. And so she called me all the way from Abu Dhabi and said, in a couple days or a few hours, your mom is going to die. And I think you should write something or, write her a letter. And I was just like, I wanted to just talk to her, but it turned out she couldn't talk because her throat was so full of sores at the time that she couldn't talk.
Frida was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2001. In over 11 years, the cancer spread to her lungs, her bones, and her liver.
They even have a picture of her on Christmas Day. They called her on Christmas, okay? That's so bad. And then, and my dad took a picture because he thought she was tired after a long day of Christmas. So there's like a picture of her doing this on the couch after the phone call. But he didn't realize until after the picture that she got a call from the hospital.
Lydia's mother wanted to protect her daughters from the reality of her pain and suffering. The two youngest, Cindy and Sandy, never knew their mother was about to die.
I think that my sisters and I, we took for granted our mother because she had cancer for so long. We just thought that it would be part of our lives forever, I think, and on some level.
The letter Lydia had written to her mother got to her before she died, and it was read to her in the hospital in front of the whole family.
I just told her, I probably went over some nice memories, and I told her she was a good mother. And it was kind of a goodbye letter, but I didn't say goodbye because I wasn't sure. I actually purposely did it because I wasn't sure how much she was.
This is Lydia's third time at the Relay for Life since her mother died. She says it's an emotional night that makes her feel closer to her mother.
It's just a commemoration of her and everyone in my family who is experiencing cancer and has experienced cancer and passed away from it.
After graduation this spring, Lydia hopes to visit her family in Indonesia, where she was born and where her mother grew up.
When I think of my mom now, I just feel a sense of gratefulness and peace. And beforehand, I just always wanted to cry all the time. Like every time I saw a small, cute Asian lady, I would like want to cry. Even though there's this weird, heavy feeling, it's a calmer and more determined feeling. I want to do well, and I just want to succeed in life in every way possible for her.
To symbolize this night of commemoration, Lydia joins the others to light their luminaries in the courtyard, each one representing a loved one they have lost. For Stu Journalism, I'm Jacqueline Gallant.
That's it for this week's edition of The Basement Files.
Thank you very much for watching us this season.
I'm Nicole Monroe.
And I'm Corey Robshow.